Hello and welcome to Network. My name is Spumelele Zondi. Tonight we'll tell you about how the IEB Digital Summit went in Johannesburg. Google has given 1 million Africans new basic digital skills in a space of a year. We have info on that as well. We'll also go to Kenya to find out about a digital skills mentorship program. Our discussion is on the first Digitize Africa conference, which is taking place in Durban. Organizers of the conference are in studio to tell us about it. Find us on SABC Network. That's on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. It's News Network at SABC.co.za. On email. Let's start with your social media and technology news. Digital marketing, high data costs, and understanding how online platforms work were the main discussions at the AIB Digital Summit in Johannesburg. We're also there. There's a belief that Africa is not a digital continent and it always starts behind others on digital trends. Some speakers at the IEB Digital Summit say that's not true.
We are the leader in technology. We're the leaders in digital. If you look at what we're doing in Kenya with Safaricom's M-Pesa, it's the #1 mobile money transfer brand and solution worldwide. Everybody is copying us on how to do that. You go to Wari in Senegal, which runs 80% of the economy, runs through Wari. We understand digital. Do not forget that Pay As You Go was started here in South Africa. Do not forget that the #1 brand, mobile brand in Africa is a South African brand. MTN, which got over 22 brands, 22 countries across the continent.
But there's a concern that while digital platforms are growing in Africa, many that come to Africa still don't understand the region as individual countries. So the answer to that would lie in Africans utilizing technology to promote who they are.
The industry is very clicky, and programmatic does not ask for a clicky industry. If I look at the same space in the Netherlands, for example, it doesn't matter who you know personally, who you have coffee with. Deals are made online. Nobody even talks to each other.
The problems some have cited is that there is a lack of understanding of digital marketing in South Africa. They say that's because advertising and marketing agencies don't go out to seek the best in the industry, but stick to the agencies they know.
Until we start telling our own story and we start broadcasting that, and Africa starts trading, and I know I sound almost like a cliche, but trading with Africa, and we start doing it ourselves instead of waiting for the aid, we'll be a force to be reckoned with, if you know what I mean. I mean, Nigeria has done a good job. If I use the music industry, they've gone out to the world.
There's also a lot of information coming in on social media and other online platforms. The difficulty is for agencies and organizations to know how to analyze it properly.
Whether it's video on demand, whether it's banners, whether it's content, all of this is being delivered over the internet. And fortunately, because of the way the internet's built, we can track a lot of that activity. The challenges come in sort of combining all of that data into one single view of what people are actually consuming, because a lot of this data isn't necessarily kept in the same place.
Apart from these topics, the IEB Digital Summit also discussed television and online platforms, journalism and fake news, and others. Google says they've trained over 1 million people in their Digital Skills for Africa initiative. They started the program last year in order to give basic tech skills to people from across the African continent. The initiative has had the most success in Kenya, Rwanda and Nigeria, where they found government partners. In South Africa, the most trainees have been in the townships of Gauteng and the rural areas of Limpopo.
We know that the internet has been a real force for economic transformation all over the world, and we recognize that digital skills are a huge driver for that economic transformation. As a result, in South Africa and the rest of sub-Saharan Africa, we really wanted to make that kind of impact and to make sure that the internet has the same sort of impact across Africa that it's had everywhere else.
We have about 14 partners across the continent. Our main partner in South Africa is a company called Fact Foundry, and they work with youth across rural areas and previously disadvantaged communities.
Limpopo community is a very interesting community. In terms of access, is not a problem. So the majority of them own smartphones, but the challenge is that they are not aware of the opportunities that the web gives. They're not aware of the professions that have been created by the internet. So awareness is still a problem. Awareness is still a problem. I mean, things like social media etiquette, things like using the internet to grow a business. They're not aware, but they are sitting with a lot of opportunities.
But by 2020, what's interesting is that there will be 500 million internet users across Africa, which represents an enormous opportunity for individuals and businesses to really engage with a massive population.
If they are business people, then I structure the content around business, and if they are unemployed young people, I show them the opportunities that the internet gives. How they can find. How can they make themselves employable?
I did marketing for Kenya Institute of Management, where we marketed them in Nairobi campuses and also conducted marketing on social media and digital platforms.
Young Africans need the skills to compete in the digital world. The world is increasingly digital.
To Kenya Methodist University in Nairobi to find out about a mentorship program that gives critical tech skills to young people. It was founded by a woman who saw the need to help students so they can find it easier to enter today's job market.
8% of students in the mentorship program want to be peer mentors to other students.
This is no ordinary computer science lesson for 35-year-old Dr. Chao Mbogo and her class. This is a weekly mentorship program. On this day, students are going through the ropes of proper academic writing. Last week, Dr. Chao, a PhD graduate of the University of Cape Town, took them through what employers look for in graduates, life skills they would otherwise not get in a normal class.
This mentorship is based on what the students indicated as the needs that they had. So the students said, just to summarize, that they wanted to learn about applying scholarships and opportunities in scholarships. They wanted to get involved in innovation. They wanted to get involved in the tech community, and they also wanted to learn about professional development and skills such as presentation, interview skills, and so on.
This is the inaugural class. Each mentorship program is intended to last 6 months.
I mentor computer science students only, again, because that's where my expertise is. And the current group consists of 30% female students and 70% male students.
Dr. Chao, within her classes for the mentorship program, organized various speakers who would come and talk about different things. There are those who talk about Google stuff, there are those who talk about programming, there are those who talk about business and IT fields. There's a lady who specifically talked about soft skills. And for me, that is what I took home. For me, the benefits for that were more than or outweighed what I have been taught in school.
Mentorship is really viral. When she starts, it's like a fire that starts, and it's almost lighting everyone. So also my candle has started burning, and you feel like you have to give back to the society.
The University of Cape Town, from where she graduated with a PhD in computer science, opened her eyes to the available opportunities to nurture students from backgrounds like hers.
It helped me combine my two passions, which is programming and problem solving, and now research, which then led to a PhD that I did on enabling students to program on their mobile phones, especially students who come from resource-constrained environments where they might not have computers or laptops to actually program, but they could use their mobile phones.
On returning to Kenya, it was time to dig in her heels. She felt a burden of responsibility. More girls now look up to her. One such student is Nyariak Kel, who won a scholarship from the Anita Borg Institute to attend the 2016 Grace Hopper Conference.
I've actually never been to a mentorship program, and for her being a woman, it's so empowering, and I've learned a lot from her.
I count myself lucky having her. Actually, I didn't know that a woman can go to that extent to a PhD level.
The initiative by Dr. Chao is a first for Kenyan universities, and so it has attracted students not just from these particular universities, but other universities across Kenya. She hopes she can be able to replicate this across the country.
The Western Cape government has created a community app, and Airbnb hopes to grow in Africa. These are just some of the top tech stories that made headlines in the last week.
The Western Cape government has created an app that will enable users to interact with them directly. This app will allow users to report on any incident and will work on multiple platforms.
This is going to be an interactive system where you can talk to your municipality, whether you can receive a message from your municipality as an individual or as a ward or as the whole community. If there's a big pipe burst, they can get a notification. It will also allow the community to register faults within the municipality directly to the service. So if you lock it, it will give you a GPS coordination, and you will be able to take a photo of a pothole, for instance, or a pipe that burst, and it will directly lock it within the municipal system, and you will get a notification with a number, and you will also get more notifications as they fix your problem. They will keep you updated.
American tech company Airbnb hopes to increase its customers in the African continent. The accommodation sharing site says it aims to reach a growth of 1.5 billion users this year.
Yeah, I mean, Africa is an incredibly important part of the world. I mean, at the highest level, our mission is to make sure that you can travel and belong anywhere in the world, literally in any community. And you couldn't possibly ever achieve that mission with cutting off one of the most important continents in the world, Africa. We have 77,000 homes here in Africa, 35,000 in South Africa, and 17,500 in Cape Town. So it's an incredibly important market for us, but it's also growing really, really fast.
China's first developed precision reducer, used for industrial robot manufacturing, went into production recently. China's robot manufacturers had to buy their device overseas at high costs.
We were using foreign products before, but now we are using this domestically produced precision reducer. Purchase cost was reduced more than 50%, while the carrying capacity improved more than 40%.
Since the 1970s, China's scientists have been researching and developing precision reducers.
March is Human Rights Day, the year of OR Tambo, unity in action in advancing human rights. At Victoria Sports Grounds in King Williamstown, the historical venue where Steve Biko's funeral was held. It is now 40 years after the event. President J.G. Zuma will deliver the keynote address. Be sure to catch this historical event live on Tuesday from 9 a.m. only on SABC News.
Typhoid outbreak that broke out in Zimbabwe's capital late last year has claimed the life of a 13-year-old girl in Harare's township of Mbare.
Most residents have put the blame on the Zimbabwean government for the debilitating economic situation.
There is no interest in the affairs of the city and the town, and really we have to do something about it.
One expert believes the Barclays ABSA apartheid funding saga reeks of political factionalism. Yanni Rousseau
says things are not as they seem.
And the money, well, that was whisked out of the country.
ABSA paid full value for the assistance. So from that perspective, I cannot see how it can be made out that ABSA benefited.
It is the SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Now, Digitize Africa is a conference taking place in Durban in April. It will be looking at how and whether Africans are participating in the fourth industrial revolution. Speakers will come from all across the tech space. Joining me in studio to talk about Digitize Africa is Viga Mbisane, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the ZA Domain Name Authority. Hello, and thank you for being a part of our network tonight.
Good evening, sir.
Now, why did you decide that you needed to organize this conference?
Well, there are many activities happening, in our society and in our economy. The reality is that we live in an age where everything happens through the internet, whether it's government in terms of how they provide services to the public, or it's education, or it's how you do business. All these activities are now best done online, are best done through digital means. So the purpose of this conference and the reasoning behind it has been to bring together different players in the digitization value chain. We talk about here people, whether they're from the private sector or from government or from the regulators and so forth. If you look at the event in terms of its composition, you'll realize that you'll get some presentations and sessions by ministers. There'll be sessions by the private sector, people who provide digital services and products and technologies. But importantly, there's a huge participation and emphasis on startups and small businesses or small, medium enterprises. And it's all really meant to say, look, it is a reality that we have to go digital, and now let's come together and share information and find out how we do what we do and how we can best collaborate. Yes.
We often hear a lot about the tech space in Cape Town, Stellenbosch, Johannesburg, Pretoria. We don't hear that much about Durban. So why did you decide to take this conference to Durban?
Well, in particular, one must thank the provincial government of KwaZulu-Natal for its interest in pulling a conference like this. When we approached them with our partners, one of their key realization was, of course, exactly that when it comes to the digital space or to the tech space, they are lagging a bit behind compared to other provinces, especially the two provinces that you have mentioned. One must add as well that even South Africa is a country, by the way, in Africa is not #1 in digital innovation. The other countries that are leading, whether it be Kenya or Rwanda and others. So the move to Durban has been really in partnership with the startup space there, especially your Durban Innovation Hub, Durban Chamber of Commerce, the Smart Exchange, and then the Invotech. Those are all agencies or incubators of tech or ICT startups that we are working with. And the idea is to boost the activity there and also to highlight what is happening there. But having said that, the conference is not about South Africa as per se or Durban per se. It's largely about the whole of Africa. There are a few speakers who are coming from different other countries as well. Because we are trying to say, how is Africa, which is the fastest growing internet market, by the way, how is it benefiting from the digital activities? How can we better participate so that we are not only consumers of products and services, but our startups, as you say, are the ones who can now come up with their apps, with their technologies, whether it's e-commerce or it's e-education and so forth.
Apart from its being in Durban, what makes this conference unique from every other conference that one would go to on the African continent?
Its emphasis on collaboration. It's important to say and to admit that there are other events that are taking place. Importantly, we also want to really not only open up to the players in the digitization value chain, but to the public as well. The entrance in this particular conference is free. We are not charging anything. It's a first come, first served basis for people to register online, because we feel that we have to have the participation by the public as well, in addition to SMEs. And in terms of how do we differ with other conferences, it's really the public participation. It's really the approach that we are taking this particular conference not as a once-off. It's going to be repeated every year. And one must add that with the undertaking by the provincial government in KZN, in the next 2 years as well, it will continue in Durban. And the idea is to then populate it and turn it into some form of a festival that celebrates what Africa is doing in digital. We feel that has not been well highlighted, and we feel that other events that have been there in this space have been for a secluded few, where either you pay or it's the typical people who participate in the mechanics of digital. Yes,
as the ZA domain name authority, one would think that you only deal with the domains that we have, .co.za or .africa, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Why did you see the need for you in particular to be involved here as the ZA domain name authority?
The internet is the foundation of digital, really, and we provide the domain name services in South Africa for people to register web addresses and so forth. Typically, for people to participate meaningfully online, they need web presence. And for them to have web presence, we then say to South Africans, in this whole clutter that is, the internet allows anybody anywhere in the world to have a domain name or a web address. You want to distinguish yourself and say that you are a South African. So accordingly, we say to people, register names that end in your co.za or net.za that really say you are African. You are South African. But importantly, then on the basis of the internet, which is the role we play, then digital becomes possible.
All right, dates quickly.
We are down in Durban at the Durban ICC. The conference starts on the 18th of April and goes until the 20th of April.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us, Vigambisan.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so Vigambisan, they're telling us about the Digitize Africa conference taking place in Durban in April. Now, this week, we caught up with rapper Nasty C. He told us what his favorite piece of technology is.
Ghetto Cupid put a get to where my heart is. On some mellow cuteness, now we back to where we started. I know I'm hard to trust, I bet me.
Hi, my name is Nasty C. My favorite piece of technology would have to be my laptop. I get to do everything. I get to make beats, record songs, edit pictures, and
Shame to be classy and shame to average. Soon as we got in the back, you got ratchet. That's just attractive. I love it. I really do. I swear. You didn't care.
This story is about what happens when we put our differences aside and we come together as a human race.
Salt makes its way out of the kitchen into the art studio.
Normally, you know, salt is for food and stuff, but then here's salt.
Past couple of months, I've grown so much, and I'm just ready to impart what I've learned to the next Miss South Africa. I wasn't expecting this. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I'm feeling so overwhelmed.
For your weekly dose of entertainment news, tune into Trends every Saturday from 12 to 1.
It's SABC Network on social media. Now, we've been playing around with the Huawei Mate 9. It's a bit bigger than most phones on the market at the moment, and we also found that it definitely screams class and high-end. If you're thinking of buying the Huawei Mate 9, keep in mind that it has a slightly bigger screen than most phones. The screen is at 5.9 inches. You will immediately realize that the design has slight curves that make it look sexy in all the right places. Huawei has continued its trend of using Leica cameras in its high-end devices. There's a 20-megapixel mono sensor that captures black and white images. This allows it to get more light and allows better contrast levels. The camera with the color filter has a 12-megapixel sensor. We put the video quality to the test when we went to a music performance recently. These are the pictures that came from it. It has a 4GB RAM and up to 64 gigs of storage space with a micro SD card slot for extra storage. The Mate 9 looks fancy, it feels high-end, and its features match that as well. When we checked online, we found different stores selling it between 10,000 Rand and 16,000 Rand. We often say adapt or die, especially in this tech world. This week, we've been asking you if you think you have the right skills that are needed by the current digital economy. Now, 55% of respondents say yes, they think they have the right skills. There is 17% that say no, they do not have the right skills. And there's 28% who are asking, what is the digital economy? All right, and that's all we have for you. You can find us on SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We leave you with Shebeleza by the legendary actor Joe Mafela, who passed away today. May his soul rest in peace. For me and the rest of the network team, bye-bye.
Mama,